to our podcast. So today we are going to be talking about male rape. Yeah, so we chose this subject specifically because unfortunately it is something that is not talked about a lot or not, doesn't really get the recognition it should have. So I think we can start it off with like the laws behind it and why, it's like this. So we have somebody here who is very enthusiastic about preaching about this. Anson, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. So, in Malaysia, our law states that in Section 375 and Section 376 of the Penal Code, Malaysia, it talks about how a man who forces himself onto a woman against the will or without a consent is considered as rape. And it also states in the beginning where it labels the man as the perpetrator and the woman as the victim. It does not change it around. So it's already very restrictive to that, So and also another thing, for the rape law to be carried out, one of the criteria is for penetration to occur. So, and only one who can do penetration is a man in the Malaysian eyes, not the other way around. So that's why it's very very restrictive and very against us, So I mean, even our penalties for the rape law is very, very heavy. It's like maximum to 20 years of imprisonment. You can get whipping. I've seen the whipping videos last time in UPSR. The police came and showed us. It was horrible. But that way, women get let off because in the eyes of the law, women are capable to rape someone. However, they can't really get away from it because they can be prosecuted under Section 509 of the Penal Code, where it talks about sexual assault. Now, sexual assault, it does not have any gender, so you can still, male victims and whatnot, they can still go to them and report them under that law, and they can still get imprisoned up to 5 years, and they can have to pay a fine or both.
I see, but with that, if a man were to be raped by a woman, unfortunately, their offender would not be persecuted for a long period of time. They would have a lighter sentence if it were the other way around. So the rapist just gets to walk free after a few years, and you say can pay a fine and that's it.
Exactly. So
under sexual assault when they got raped, which is really bad.
Yeah, it just sucks that if the woman gets a lesser penalty and a man is just sometimes asked to just brush it off, or it's, you probably liked it, why are you reporting it and whatnot. You see,
straight off the bat, that's just the word to describe it all is old-fashioned. I mean, it's a very old school mentality to have, that you have to get penetrated to be considered as rape.
Exactly. Like what you said, old-fashioned. I don't know why Malaysia is the way it is now, considering we have ASEAN countries like Singapore and Philippines who actually expanded their law to include men as victims as well. So women and also other men alike in homosexual relationships, they can still get prosecuted under the law, the rape laws, imprisonment, 6 to 12 years in jail, sometimes even whipping also, even though it's drastic. But yeah, it's good to see that they have
recognize it,
and make it equal to everyone, not discriminating
rape,
against one.
You shouldn't see gender in rape.
Exactly. Please.
It's about gender equality, because everyone can, because every sex can rape by every sex, so it's very unfair to male, and then it's very unfair to male. Everyone should respect each other because male are humans too.
Yeah, everybody can be a victim. So,
Yeah.
I don't see.
I mean, especially in the modern day, where relationships are, it's not just male and female anymore. There's homosexuals, gays, LGBTQ community as well. Like, it's so much bigger than just what our government currently has their eyes on.
Exactly, yeah. Even like domestic abuse, it's not always sometimes the females, sometimes the males also get it. And we don't really necessarily watch out for the signs because it's always ingrained on the female side of it, Yeah. But in talking about that also, I haven't really seen any cases in Malaysia, like, in the news, on social media, not a lot of rape cases I've seen compared to like female rape cases that like been published. So have any of you guys seen?
Yeah, there was an international case in US, which is a female teacher raped a student
Oh God.
when he was only 12. Yeah, they are Mary Kay and Willie, if you had heard it before. Yeah, so they were the opposite sex. It could be taken more seriously. Like, for example, a male teacher raped a female student, right? But after that, after years, they even got married, which is very like shocking. And then the public is like, how should this be done? Like,
How can this happen?
yeah, like, is this right to marry a rapist? But eventually the victims realize that this is an unhealthy relationship at the very first. But at that time he was so young, he was only 12.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even maybe he doesn't even have some correct concept of sex, or maybe correct values of lives, and so on.
That's really terrible. He's so young, 12 years old. We were
Exactly.
busy taking UPSR studying, and he had to go through that. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's messed up, right? 12 years old, at a very young age, a teacher has authority as well. You're gonna have to respect what a teacher says. So he probably didn't have much of a choice anyway. And knowing boys and the current culture around it is like, everyone has that stigma. Oh wait, it's a female teacher, she's probably hot. You should be grateful, but really it isn't like that.
Which probably plays into why he ended up marrying her, because it didn't, like you said, it didn't get taken that
He
seriously.
isn't aware of this situation,
Yeah.
which is a wrong thing.
Yeah, so in his mindset, it was like, because of how people reacted to it, he's like, oh, maybe this is normal. And
Maybe this
only-
is love.
Yeah,
like-
so only
Yes.
later on, unfortunately, he realized it. But talking about that, I did see a case in Malaysia, I think, but it was on social media, where again, a female student sexually assaulted. I'm not sure if she raped, but I know she did sexually assault them. A few male students, and they were all like teenagers, really young, 16, 14, 15, like that. And because it was on social media, of course you read through the comments and you want to know what people are saying. And I was really, really disappointed in the comments that were being posted, which were unfortunately mostly from men, but basically saying that, oh, this is like you said, every boy's dream, every boy's fantasy. I would have enjoyed it if that were me. I'm sure they liked it. They're just playing around. They don't even really think this is serious. And I just thought, this is really bad. They're so young.
Yeah.
And this is from a teacher. This is somebody that you're supposed to trust, and they were sexually assaulted, and people are making fun of them. People are taking it so lightly, and they're not even. It's so sad, because I'm sure these kids have Instagram and social media, and I'm sure they could have seen these comments. And imagine having to go through something so traumatic, and then not even having any support from society.
Much less, I'm not sure even the family would have supported them. They might have, being in like the whole Asian country, they might be just just keep quiet. You get through it yourself. You don't say anything. You don't want to bring shame to your family, like let other people know that my child got raped and stuff. It's quite a common issue here.
I think it leads back to old fashioned, whether it's family or strangers online. I think like a big part of it is the older generation being like, oh, it's fine, it's how it's meant to be, men and women, like regardless of your age or if the roles were reversed or whatnot. It's generally accepted by the older generation, but I think it's very messed up, and I think our current generation are, for the most part, are very aware of how messed up of an issue it is.
Yeah, but I guess it all plays down to how we are as a society and how we view the subject. The problem is right now that even when people have the bravery, like you said, some families don't even want their kids to talk about this. So much less if they do that to a girl, how would they even feel about if a guy were to do that? And when they do find the courage to finally open up and tell people about it, this is the outcome. People make fun of them, people take it so lightly. And I feel that plays into the fact that why a lot of male rape cases or male sexual assault cases are just get overlooked. They don't feel safe enough to be able to report it.
I guess it also plays down to the fact that it's kind of like a mindset we have in the past where we will say that males, because they are so sexually driven, they have high libido, they are like in power, so they aren't supposed to feel like vulnerable or show emotions or expose themselves, so they have to be strong all the time. And there's also another reason why how the law was placed the way it is now, because of the thought that the sexually driven thing of men. It's why they place the man as a perpetrator, not the women. Yeah. And plus I think another reason why we don't really see a lot of cases get reported is even if you go to the police, they get brushed off. They get told why are you reporting it? You must have liked it, right? Or it doesn't really matter. Or even if you do report it, they just don't follow through with it, And there also could be things about in workplaces, sometimes the HR department, even though you report, they don't really follow through with it because probably they're quite lazy to go with the whole process of writing it and whatnot. So it's kind of the unfortunate thing that we have, but I think in our generation we're getting, as y'all said, we're getting more aware of it, and as we enter into workforces, it's our duties also to help to help male victims to open up and make sure the proper justice are being served to them properly.
Yeah, so that being said, a lot of people don't feel safe in order to be able to talk about these things, but luckily for us, we do have somebody who will be joining us today to talk about his personal experiences. He unfortunately had to go through something like this, but he is willing to give us a deeper insight on how it is being a victim of male rape. So I guess let's welcome Pooven.
Pooven, yay!
Hi Pooven.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So Pooven is here to talk about his experience and share his story with us because he has unfortunately had to experience this firsthand. Shall we just get into it?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so don't worry, you can take your time.
Okay.
Just so whenever you're ready, you can just start.
Okay. I think I'll go with the first incident where it happened in a house party. So my friend hosted a Christmas house party and I was there. And pretty much, there were a lot of alcohols and people were doing a lot of other things as well. Was aware of it. But I was pretty much wasted and I was drunk. And that's when a group of guys approached me and they reached out to me just out of the blue, and I was not aware of anything because I don't know them, because they're complete stranger to me, because they're my friends, acquaintances, I guess. So this guy just came up, and then they sort of like just dragged me to the room, and I was just drunk, so I thought, we're just gonna play game. Why in the world would I think like play game? I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, but I just thought so, right? And then they brought me to the room, and things just happened, and I was drugged. Basically, they just drugged me. I don't want to go too in detail about that. But yeah, things happened, and it was really, really tough after that, because I just don't want to explain what happened.
Yeah,
after
it's
that,
okay. You
it's
don't
just-
have to go into detail. I think everybody can understand what went down. How was it coping? Okay, wait. You said first incident, so there was another time that you had to experience this. Okay.
And that was also in a party sort of setting, where I was in a club in KL. And I was just there again, me drinking and partying.
As one does.
Yeah, again, partying. And my friends had to leave me because they wanted to go for another club, but I just wanted to stay there and just have fun. But I was with a group of boys, but they're not Malaysians, they're all foreigners. And, after, partying and stuff, they were like, do you want to come over to our place? Maybe you can just chill with us since you're alone. I went there, and I got even more drunk because they had a lot of alcohols in their room. And it happened again. They sort of forced themselves. And I woke up after a few hours, and I was bleeding basically. And that's when I knew that, okay, something is wrong, and it was really, really painful. I went back home, and I was continuously bleeding. So I had to go to the hospital on my own. Just imagine, that alone is already terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anyone by your side. You have to go and see the doctor on your own and explain to him everything. But I was lucky in that way because the doctor was pretty supportive. Yeah, and I had to do a few stitches. Yeah, it just took a few hours, and it was really painful. It was really, really painful.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry that you had to go through all that. But thank you so much for coming here and talking about it.
For sure.
And sorry that we have to put you through this.
No, I'm sorry.
But it's really, really brave of you to be able to talk about it now. But I just want to ask, like, that's really, really traumatic. That's such a horrible experience, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So, what did you have to do in order to, be where you are today, and like, how did you cope with it afterwards, basically?
I went on a full-blown sabotaging mode where I start hooking up with random people. Not sure why I did that, but I just felt like I had to do it. Just use me, just abuse me. I want to feel the pain, and maybe I could overcome the pain that is greater than that. But I think I made the whole situation even more worse because like I could, after that whole thing, that whole era of me sabotaging myself, I could not get into close places and like lifts in people if I don't let people touch me because that freaks me out because I'm not sure like what are your intentions. And I have a lot of trust issues. Even in my relationships I have trust issues. It went really bad. And but I had the privilege to go for therapies, and I went and got myself a therapist, and but I did open up about this whole situation to my parents.
Oh,
That's
okay.
nice.
That's great.
Yeah, I did.
How were they?
Yeah.
They were in shock. Coming from an Asian family. My dad left the place. Yeah, he left the place. He didn't talk to me for like about 1 to 2 weeks, which I understand, but I needed you there. And that's, that shouldn't be the time where you
Leave.
Yeah. But my mom was really supportive.
God bless her. Yeah. That's great.
She was there with me, and I'm really thankful to have her by my side till now. She appointed me to a therapist, and I worked myself up like for 7 months. Yeah, it took some time for me to get out of that narrative that I'm this and that. Yeah.
but you're out of it now, and that's really great. I mean, not a lot of people can go to therapy and push themselves that far. Some of them do like to dwell in it for a longer period of time.
And I believe that because therapies also cost a lot. And
True.
I personally believe that everyone should have an access to therapies, and that's the thing.
Unfortunately, it's not as easily as accessible. And government therapy, you have to wait for a very long time.
That's very true.
But at least you had that support system, and thank God for your mom, and going to therapy really helped. And here you are today, a shining bright star in the studio.
Yeah, I think regardless of therapy or not, for someone who's gone through multiple experiences and to come out and still talk about it and share your experience, I think that's very commendable, because
So Anselm, what do you think? Do you have any questions to ask Poovan?
I guess a question that I have is, we heard so much about women rape cases being reported in the news almost every day, but what about male rape cases? Why don't you think it gets reported often?
I think it's because of the stigma that lies behind it. And that whole male dominant power egoistic things that but I'm aware that there were cases where guys actually came forward and talked about it, but they faced backlashes. But they're straight males, but they got scrutinies. If I'm not mistaken, this guy who came up and talked about it, he got harassed in social media by other guys. You're this, you're that, you're such a girl, you're girly, things like that. And I think that is why guys in general just don't talk about it, because of the scrutiny that they face after that.
It's something like our whole society is built on kind of toxic masculinity, where we have to just be strong and tough.
And you can't cry.
Exactly, and it just sucks, honestly.
It
Does not do any good for men who want to try and get better. And I think I've also read that there are other reasons also, besides of the whole stigma, as you said. And the government itself, they take quite a long time just to prosecute the perpetrators, very slow prosecution.
Thank you, Anselm, for the question. Sharvin, do you have anything to say?
I think in terms of the law and authorities and stuff, what can we really do to amend this situation of male rape?
Poovan, do you have any thoughts about it?
I'm not aware for straight males, but I know there are a few NGOs and organizations for the LGBTQ community, as Pelangi, there's PT Foundation, there's Class, where you can get free testing after rape, for STDs and HIV. They also, if I'm not mistaken, Pelangi also gives free therapy sessions for the LGBTQ community, and they also host a lot of events for it and educational classes.
Okay, that's really good.
And that's really good.
But still, it doesn't stop. It basically, it's more towards the individual. There's nothing that we can do legally wise, because it just stops.
Unfortunately, that's the
which
thing.
Which is really terrible.
All I wish is that the government comes up with something for male in general. I just don't like the way people view guys in general. This should not happen to you, and you should not cry, you should not this and that, as what you mentioned before. And that's terrible. I really wish there's a portal for male to open up.
But I think also another way legally for especially for straight men, or in other cases also women who also have been raped, you can also try pushing forward sending emails or calling your local MPs to try and get them and to revisit the laws, the Section 375 and section 376 of the whole rape laws try to include men, like Singapore and Philippines have done. They've expanded it to actually convict the perpetrator regardless of any gender. So I think that's something we could do to push forward legally. Just the little things we can try.
Definitely.
I mean, we have to take steps forward, lah. I mean, women are getting the right treatment. I think nowadays, I think it was way better than it was before. But I think in terms of males, it's still lagging behind.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Vivian? Do you have anything?
So how can we help someone who has been sexually harassed or assaulted?
Just listen to them. Just listen to them. Don't make fun of it, and don't generalize that whole situation, because it can make things worse for them. And oftentimes people tend to say a lot of things in the name of help, but it's really not helping. You just have to listen to what they have to say and just be them with, just be close to them. That's all. I think that's what you need to do.
Thank you. That's a good question and a very good answer.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think we are close to the end of the podcast. Does anybody have some closing words to say? Anybody want to add anything before we end?
I think on my side of things, I don't think male rape should be taken lightly at all. I think it's a massive issue that is still looked over, and I just really hope for the future, because I don't think it's something that's going to be solved overnight. So for the future, I'm hoping the authorities will take action and look into this issue as a whole.
I think for us, our responsibility is, number one, we have to, like what Pooven said, the stigma surrounding male rape and everything. We as a society need to be able to handle it better. We can't judge them, we can't make fun of them, and we need to, if somebody comes out and says, hey, I got raped, you shouldn't be like, oh, you're a man. You should deal with it. You should have enjoyed it, something like that, which is really terrible. So that's one thing that we should, we should really fix in this society that we live in. We need to stop this mindset. And number two, like you said, there's NGOs and places that do support, and although it doesn't help prosecute the offender, at least those who unfortunately had to deal with this experience, they are getting the help that they need. But I think even regardless of whether you're a man, you've experienced it, what we can do is that we can help spread the awareness of it, and there's petitions, if there's talks, kind of just in any way push towards the future that Sharvin's talking about. We can't just wait for the MPs to decide on the law. We gotta do something for our country.
And I think like our generation now, we are getting more aware, and like we are, I would say, fighting for justice, honestly. And I think probably like a decade or two down the line, we'll probably see the law changing, hopefully, crossing fingers.
I hope so.
I think like our own peers, hopefully they'll go into the parliament, help to change the law.
Pooven for president! I think that's I'm thank you so much for
and thank you for having me and showing light to this matter. I think people should just come up and talk about things, and that can be supportive.
Yes, exactly. And if the community is better, they'll have they'll feel less pressured
True.
to come out and talk about it. So thank you. It was really great having you here and talking about everything. So I think we can wrap it up. Goodbye.
Ta-da!